All right, so we're COMP123 and it's week 13, lesson 13, part 1. Can you imagine? 13 now. We're very, very close to the end, right? And I want to kind of go over assignment number 7 again, just really briefly, just to go through. We went through the details last week, but I think the challenges are, there's a couple things. If you notice here, there's a couple of lists, right? You've got your movie and you've got your category, and then you've got your price for your categories, right? And you get a bit of a menu. So question for you guys is this: how would you represent this list right here? So you've got a list of movies, and it could be this list or another one. I'm telling you to use this one because it's here, right? But I mean, certainly you could apply it to any other list. You've got some categories for the movie, right? For example, Season of the Witch. We called it sci-fi. Really, it's more like a fantasy, paranormal. But anyways, whatever, right? It's an older movie, sci-fi, and then, you know, it's $2.99, right? So how do you relate this? Do you say that, well, all sci-fi movies, if the category is sci-fi, it's $2.99. How would you represent this from a data perspective, right? Well, immediately in your mind, you should say array. You know, if you've thought about this, it's almost like, I put it into almost like an array format, if you think about it, right? So, you know, 0, 1, 2, so all these things are in an array. You could definitely do it that way. But that's for one value. How about for this one? Right? There's another little value there. Would it be a two-dimensional array? I don't recommend it. That'd be the answer. I don't think a two-dimensional array is probably the right way of thinking about this, right? Could it be an array of arrays? Certainly. You could do it that way as well. Again, more challenging to do an array of arrays. It's a little bit more challenging. How about a class? Right? We've done all kinds of class work before. Could you not make, a movie class, and the movie class has a category, the actual title, the category, and the cost? You could, right? And you could make it also that the categories, they could be an enumeration, an enum, right? So again, from a data representation perspective, this is going to be one of your challenges. How do I represent this stuff? How do I store this stuff, right? Certainly, when we look at the Visual Studio piece, if I look at this stuff, there's some things we haven't covered. I'm just going to open up a new application here if you follow me along. I'm going to go into Visual C#. It's going to be a Windows Form application, and we're going to call this COMP123 Lesson 13, Part 1. Again, this lesson is all around UI still. Next day, we're going to do something different. Okay, cool. So we have some new things we have to take care of, and we talked about this last time, where you have kind of a list view or some kind of different kinds of boxes. Like, for example, we have a combo box. I kind of brought that into play last time, where I said, here's a combo box. What do you do with a combo box? And how do I load up a combo box, right? And if you remember last time, when I looked at a combo box, I'm just kind of going through here, we have this area here, as an example, where you have items and a collection. I'm going to go back to that point, because we kind of touched upon it last time, but really didn't go into a lot of detail about what this thing is. And by the way, every time we say collection, it always irks me to tell you about lists, because lists are a collection type. Okay, so here's my collection, and I can simply type in, you know, one item per line, information about my little collection, right? Cool, cool. So you definitely can do it that way. So this would be, as an example, you could list in here the type of movie, right? But the thing is, and there's many ways to represent this. You could hard code it. You could say, well, if this is the movie, if the movie is Season of the Witch, then its category is sci-fi, which means the cost is, that's a really brute force way of doing it, right? And then the cost is $2.99. That would be like the brute force way of doing it, right? And you can do that all in the code, in the back end, right? Or you could dynamically load up the details in here, right? So example, if I was to choose from a list, I'm just going to kind of give you an example here. Let's take a couple of these items, Season of the Witch and the Green Hornet and the Dilemma, all right? So I'll load these up here in the collections, right? So we'll just try this out. Season of the Witch, Green Hornet, and the Dilemma, right? Okay, so if I press OK, And if I run this thing, and again, I haven't done all the little piece parts. We're going to talk about that in a second. If I look at a combo box, I can choose my movie, right? Whatever it's going to be, right? This is okay. And again, there's different options for the combo box. This combo box here, I'm just going to call this, I'm going to rename this thing to movie combo box. We'll do it backwards today. Movie combo box, right? And you know what? I'm also going to rename this form, and we're going to call this form we'll call it movie form. And you might say, well, Tom, aren't you like helping us out too much here? Yeah, okay. Let me tell you how much I'm helping you, right? Maybe I'm not helping you at all. Rename this form to movie form too. Why not? Movie form. And that's cool. I've got that. And you know what? I also want to not only rename that, but I also want to change the properties of the form itself, so that way my form on the title bar says movie form. And you know what? Also, I want to change my start position to center screen, because I like to do that, right? That's just a thing I like to do. Okay, if I look at my combo box, now if you notice, my combo box is a very interesting control, because it has the drop-down style option that the list box does not have. So here's my drop-down style. Right now it's a drop-down. I could make it simple or a drop-down list. If I go simple, right, then it looks almost like a list box, right? If you notice, I can also expand this list, so I can change the size of my combo box so it almost looks exactly like a list box. Okay, so let's run that now. And if you notice, I can see the different items. Season of the Witch, and it pops up here. The Green Hornet, and it pops up here. And the Dilemma, and it pops up here. Each one that I choose pops up. Hey, you know what? I don't like the size of my stuff, so I'm going to go in here into font and change my font size to 14, right? Because that's really big. Oh, if I did that, then it means I got to extend my thing so it kind of fits a little bit better. It's pretty big now, right? That makes sense. It's a few items. I could have more than this if I wanted to, right? And this is my movie form, and I want to click on one of these items as an example, and depending on my selection, right, I want to do a couple of things. Let's look at the options here. It says, first of all, we also have to talk about one item, the splash screen idea. How do you do a splash screen? There's many ways to do this, okay? How do I make it only appear for 3 seconds? We're going to talk about that a little bit too, right? So again, a drop-down list. I use the combo box. It doesn't matter. That displays a list of movies available to stream as shown in the above chart. So this is the chart, and I gave you an example of what it could look like, something like this, right? You click on the movie, and as soon as you click on it, all these things kind of pop up, right? How do I do that? Well, first, if you notice, that's all that's in here, just this stuff, right? There isn't like lists and lists and columns and rows of stuff. It's just, you know, this one list. You click onto it, and then boom, 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 it shows everything here. One of the other things I said for the list box is make sure that if we're going to build this thing out together, right, for a little bit, I'll build part of it with you today, right? One of the things that you need to do, so go back to the right form, is make sure that the sorted property is true. Well, we kind of talked about that last week, but let's try and do that. So I click on this, and I go to sorted. This is how you do that. Here's the sorted property. This is free marks for you guys. True, right? So now, even though I typed it in a different way, like Season of the Witch, the Dilemma, and the Green Hornet, right? I typed in actually the Green Hornet and then the Dilemma. It resorts it for you. So when I kind of run this thing, it shows it in a sorted order. It's good to have it in a sorted order, because then when you search through this thing, like if I go to the top, this is the power of using a box. If I go the Dilemma, right, it'll actually take you right down to, this is the power of a group box, or sorry, combo box. It'll take you to the actual item in the list automatically. This is built-in functionality. I didn't do anything here, if you notice, right? But you need to have it in sorted order, right, for it to work properly. Okay, so that's the one piece and I'm using a combo box, not a list box. And if you were to say to me, Tom, can I use a combo box instead of a list box? Well, the thing is calling for a list box, right? Let's take a look. And you're going to say, well, what if I thought, a combo box would be you know, a better option. Now look what it says here. Add a drop-down list that displays a list of movies. It doesn't say add a list box. So it could be a drop-down list box, combo box, whatever you want, right? I don't necessarily tell you what these things do, right? I also don't tell you things like, here, add 3 text boxes. I don't tell you how to name them. I don't tell you how to name any of this stuff because you guys should kind of figure out in your head, what do I want to turn on and off? How about this control box, minimize box, maximize box, show icon, all that stuff? I want to set all this to false. Let's do that for this one, right? So I'm going to go over here for the form, and I want to set my control box. Here's what happens when I set my control box to false. It goes away, right? Right. So minimize and all that stuff. Sure, I can set this all to false. Why not? But it's already done when I do the first one, right? False, false. I'm going to look for it though. Everything I ask for, I'm going to look for. So, and the show icon. Show icon is also something I'm setting to false. Show icon is going to go to false. Now when I run it, it looks like this, right? Here's my movie form, and I've got my little thing here, Season of the Witch or whatever pops up. And now, oh man, how the hell do I close this thing? Well, if you don't have a control box, Alt F4 is one way you can do it. Or, of course, you can just click this and stop debugging, and that will stop it as well, right? So that's the thing I'm asking you to do if we're going to build this thing out myself or with you. Okay, that's good. So far, so good. Now, question for you, right? I have my box. Let's make it the whole length. But, you know, I want to know which one is selected. How do I do that? No, say anything. Don't say anything, Smarty. Come on. I have other people here, Ravina, that can do it too. Anybody. What would I do? First of all, what am I asking you to do, right? I'm asking you to create an event handler, right? So what's the best way to do it? Well, you might be forgiven to think that you should double click, right? That might be definitely one way to do it. But this, if I double click, it gives me this movie combo box selected index changed event. And my question to you is, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. That's okay. My question to you is this the event that I want? Or is there a better event that I could create for this? So here's my movie combo box selected index changed event. So it means when I select my index, when I change my index, what item I'm looking at, when my selected index is changed, it fires off my event. That's what it does, okay? What other kind of events are there, right? So I'm going to go back out to this, to the control side, and of course I'm missing my properties. By the way, if you ever lose a window, again, you go to View, and if I want to look at, if I look at my Solution Explorer I've got here, my Team Explorer I've got here, you know, what about my properties? Where do I get that from, right? So is it here, Property Manager, right? That's not it, right? So I look at my property, it's not in here. How do I put this back together? Huh? So hold on, I'm going to repin this thing up here. And I want my properties. I got my solution, my team, but I lost my properties. You're going to run into this problem. How do I get this back? Drag what? From where? What are you talking about? What window? What do you mean? There's nothing there. Huh? F4. Well, I don't have F keys on my computer. What do I do? I don't.
View properties.
View? Yeah. Where? Where's properties? I don't see it. Ravina, you can help me now. Come on. Where do you go? Where do I go on View to get it? Because I don't have my F4 key. Property Manager is not the one, right? Where's my property? My property text box. I'm missing it.
Properties window is there.
Where? Show me.
Property window.
Where? Oh, here. Oh. That's the one I want. And you know, it happens sometimes. You lose your Solution Explorer, your Team Explorer, your property. You don't have these things. And you're like, damn, I don't know what I am. I'm in the exam. I don't have this stuff. What do I do? Right? Well, it's all in View. Okay, cool. I know it's a trick. But at the end of the day, here's what I'm doing here. How do I figure out what other kinds of events? Well, if I click on the little lightning bolt, right, this shows me all the events. So let's see. So selected index change is one. Then there's another one, selected value changed. Well, that's a different thing altogether. That means I change my value, not the index. So that's something that I'm not doing. right? Size changed, style changed, tab index changed. You know, I mean, again, most of the time when you double click, it gives you the most common event. And typically that's the best event that you want, but it may not always be the case, right? That's why I'm telling you, is this the best event for what you want, right? So selected index changed is the one that we're getting. Okay, so let's suppose that that is the best event, right? Fine, so my selected index changed, which means when I run this thing, and if I click on this thing, that's my selected index has changed, yeah? I've clicked this one, it's changed. I click this one, it changes. I click this one, it changes. This is what I want to key in on. When my selected index changes, then I want to populate my boxes. That's how it's going to work. So if I want to take this, whatever I choose here, and put it into a label or a text box, let's do it. Let's create a label or a text box. Now, it's probably not what's on call for you guys for what you're doing for building, but it's okay. For us, for our demonstration, it's okay. So here's our text box. We're going to put this together. And we're going to call this our movie title text box. Right? So we'll change this to movie title text box. Okay, there it is. And we're also going to make this 14 because we want to make it the same size as our movie. Why not? If you notice, I haven't changed the size of my form yet. I've kept it the original. All right, so here's my movie title text box. I'll make it span the whole thing. So when I click here, it's going to kind of put it down here, right? It's a different control, right? So we know that, right? And maybe what I want to put in is some kind of label that goes in here too. So I'm going to grab this label, kind of put it in here, change the label to 14 as well, so it takes up the right space. Here it is, right? And maybe move this down a little bit more, just from a design perspective. And this label I want to rename as well. I want to call this thing movie title label, right? Something that makes sense. Okay, and I want to give some text there, right? So here's my text. I'm going to call this title, right? So that's, I'm making this up for today, right? Here it is. So when I click, here's what I want to do. When I click one of these items, right, then I want to change my title to reflect what I've clicked. So again, I'm going back into on the code side, and I've got my movie combo box selected index changed. How do I access the item? And what kind of construct am I looking at? Well, we're looking at something called a list, right? And a list is like an array. This is the first introduction when we're first talking about lists today. So I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone a little bit, right? It's like an array, but the list is something that does not have a fixed length. So think about the list. When you create an array the first time, once you say it's an array of 10 items, it's always an array of 10 items, from now and for forever. It's immutable. The size of the array cannot be changed, right? A list, not that at all. You can add to the list, and you can remove items from the list at any time, right? Well, we want to use this selected index. That's what we want to look at. So this movie combo box, this selected index property, right, to give us the value. Okay, let's take a look at how we do that. So first of all, movie combo box. I'm going to start typing movie combo box. Okay, cool. If I press dot, it tells me these are all of my different options that I have. My can focus, my capture, whatever, blah, blah. If I go back down to selected index, I have this. It's a property, selected index. Okay, cool. So there's my selected index, right? If I go dot again, it gives me equals, compares, hashing, toString, blah, 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 right? That's cool for my selected index, right? That's the actual index. Think about the array index as 0, 1, 2, 3. That's what an index is, a subscript of the array, right? It's like lists are like arrays, except they're totally mutable. They're not immutable, right? It's a new word. Mutable means you can change things. Immutable means they're unchangeable in terms of the size. Well, not only can you change the values inside of a list, you can also change the size of a list. So right now, our selected index is going to be a value of 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever it's going to be. Okay, how about we just do this? If I say, for now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to have my movie title text box dot text, the text value, equal to my movie combo box selected index. But what's this going to give me, right? And by the way, I got to translate this toString, right? Because right now it's just a number, right? Well, what this should give me the number that's what I'm pointing to. That's all this is doing. So if I run this the way it is right now, let me just try this out, right? And if I click on one of these items, and if my handler works properly, like I click this one here, if I click on the dilemma, what should I get? What should be down here? 1, right? This should be 2. That should be 0, right? And no matter what I click, I get the index. Now that's not really what I want, right? That's not what I want. That just gives me the index of my list here, right? What I really want is not the selected index, but actually the selected value. So here's my, if I go like this and I go dot selected, value, here's my selected value, right? Do I have to convert my selected value to string? Well, yeah, you do, because it doesn't know. Let's see what happens when I do this, right? So I'm changing it to string, and I run this thing again, and now I click on selected which, and I get nothing. In fact, if anything, it goes, meh, it kind of coughs and goes, oh. Right? This is bad, right? It coughs out. It tells me an error. It says, an unhandled exception type system null reference exception occurred in COMP123 lesson 13 part 1, da-da-da-da-da, right? Unhandled exception. What's the exception? It says, additional information, the object reference not set in the instance of an object. So how come I got this error? I mean, we want to get the selected value. Okay, I like your thinking, right? So let's stop. So remember, it was selected index was one thing. Selected value, definitely not the way to go, right? Let's do the next one. We're exploring this thing because it's important for you guys to know this or else you're going to mess up, right? Selected item. Okay, I like this one. Selected item. Can I put that as a semicolon without converting it? Oh, come on. What's this? I thought it was easier than this, right? Selected item.toString. Okay, let's save this up. Oop, what am I doing? Save this up and then run this thing and then click on Season of the Witch and hey, I can change the box. That's cool. This is good. I've got 1, 2, 3. I don't have to worry about the index. My selected index changed. Is working. My handler. That's good, right? I like that. I like this idea, but it doesn't really keep track of anything. I mean, I have the item gets saved inside of this text box, right? Which is, if you notice, by the way, I've got this little text box that's holding the item, right? So my text box is actually changing. Whenever I click this, or whatever it is, my text box is changed. Okay, this is good. This is a good thing, right? Well, what if I wanted to make it so that one of the items is selected from the get-go? So I want to make it so that when my form loads, the first item on the list is selected. How do I do that? Listen to what I said. When my form loads, one of the first item on the list is selected. Huh? Form loads event handler, right? That's what I want. How do I do that? I double click on the form, not the items, the form itself. So double click. Okay, now I got this movie form load event. And now I want to say this. I want to say when my form loads, I want my movie combo box to have the first item in the index selected. How do I do that? So here we go. So I say, well, my movie combo box dot selected index, right? Can I do that? Selected index? Huh? Oh, okay. Let's try this out. See what happens if you're right. Okay, so selected index is equal to 0. All right, let's do that. I like your thinking. All right, and let's see what happens when I run this thing. Huh? Okay, so hey, yeah, you did a pretty good job. What if let's just to check that, and look, it already did this already, right? As soon as this is selected, this happened, right? Because the selected index was changed, so therefore that event fired, even though the other event fired first. So I caused a cascade of events happening. The first one was on my form load. That's what I said, right? Here's on my form load. Make the movie combo box select index 0. That's the one I'm setting to selected index. Well, guess what? My selected index changed. So therefore, this fires too. Movie title textbox.text is equal to this. That's neat, right? So that's great. It does these little things. But how do I keep this information as an example? How do I create a list of movies, that I have, that I keep track of different values? What would you recommend in terms of our format, our structure for holding this information? All the movies that I'm going to load up. So when I load up my movies, because remember what I'm asking you to do also in the assignment, it says in my select form, here's my selection form. First, the splash screen comes up. We're going to talk about that. Group box title, Add a picture box to the group box, which displays a small graphic. And by the way, all the images of the pictures are up on Dropbox in your eCentennial, right? How do I say so when I select the movie? Well, then my picture comes up, right? How do I do that, right? Well, one thing you need to do is you need to figure out that the graphic or the image of the movie has to be stored. I recommend this highly. Has to be stored in where? In your project. If you go to project properties, we did this before. It's got to go in the resources folder. In here, instead of strings, you got to look at images. This is where it's got to live. We don't have anything in there right now. So even if I put a picture box, I got no place to put it, right? It's got to live in here. This is where all your pictures got to live. We got nothing in here right now, but if I wanted to pull it down, I could. Again, I would go up on eCentennial, go into Dropbox, and I have your images there. All the images for all the movies. So you don't have to go find them or look for them. It's all there for you, okay? So I got to put one of the images in here for, at least all the images in here for the things. That's for sure. I can build up the list because I got to access this resources. Remember, we did this kind of before. I want to access the resources that I want to put up because it's a bitmap that I want to load in to my picture box, right? And we kind of did that. One of the first things we did when we kind of did this UI stuff. Remember, a couple of apps back, we did almost like that little gallery where we click on the button and it shows another image, another image, another image. Well, that kind of accesses this resources. And how do we do that? Well, we have examples of that. So I've kind of covered that piece. How do you go from one image to the other? No problem. But again, my dilemma in my head is how do I represent the array of movies? How do I do that? Or the list of movies? How do I do that? Anyone else have any ideas how they would do it? How about Jay? Any ideas? I know I'm putting you on the spot. But,
I do it
in a class. Okay, so you have it in a class and you put it in a class, fine. So each of your objects in the class, right, you would add into an array or a list, let's say, however you like to do it. So it would be an array, instead of an array of strings or an array of integers, it'd be an array of movies, right? That's the way to do it, a movie object array. Okay, so if I was going to do something like that, I'm going to go back into Solution Explorer, let us tag this up, right? And I have my movie form.cs, but I want to create another class, right? Okay, cool, let's do that. So let's kind of click that in. So I'm going to say add, right, new item, and just for my curiosity, right? I just want to try this out here, right? I want to add in a class. Here's my class. And what's the appropriate name for this class? Any ideas? Oh, come on. Jay, since you started this off, this topic, I like your thinking. Movie? I like movie. Or maybe if it's a movie class, right, then I'm going to create an array probably called movies, right? Makes sense? So I'm going to call this a movie class, right? Add this in, add, right? My movie class is empty. We kind of hit this before lots of times, guys. We've done classes through the wazoo since the first time we kind of met, right? What's a movie, what's a class? Okay, so I need a couple of things for this movie class. First of all, I'm going to do some documentation. That's the way I start off. By the way, hint, hint, this is the way. It's a good idea to start this way off, right? So this is my movie class. Okay, in my movie class, is my movie class going to inherit from any other class? Probably not. I don't see that's doing so. There's no inheritance here, right? That's the first thing I'd ask myself. Okay, I need a constructor for my movie class. How is it going to look? It's definitely going to be public, right? I don't have to. and it's not gonna, there's not gonna be a return type. It's not gonna return void or anything like that. I just need to make it movie, right? So that's my constructor. At the very minimum, I need this, right? Now it has that already, right? It has that, but I need to add in the name of my movie somehow. I can do it two ways. I can create instance variables that holds the name of my movie and the category. Hey, do I have to create a category class as well with categories and da-da-da, or could use enums. I think enums might be the better way to do that. If anyone remembers how to use enums, I bet you no one remembers how to do that here, right? But let's just say, right? But I like your thinking. So then, okay, here's my public movie, and inside I'm going to call this the constructor. Here's my constructor object, right? I like to kind of start off all my classes the same way, right? And in my movie, I'm going to have a couple of instance variables. Here's my private instance variables, right? And inside there, I want to make the first one, it's going to be private. And I'm going to start it off with the type of instance variable. It's going to be the title, right, for my movie, right? So that means it's a string, right? And here's my title. That's what I'm going to call it. And it's going to be underscore. So underscore title, because it's private. Does that make sense? Hey, how come it's giving me an error? Well, how come?
Should be out of the
What happened to my construct? Oh. Hey, that's wrong. You guys are remembering, huh? It's got to be over here. Right, it's got to be outside of my constructor. It's going to be inside my movie class. And it's going to be like this, right? Okay, I need a couple of other things. I need string. I need my title. I need my category, also a string. And I need my cost, right? Or I don't know what you want to call it. What do we call it on the actual thing here? Price? Cost. I called it cost. Okay. So cost, so private. Should it be a double? Because I might need to use some calculations there eventually. So let's leave it as a double for now, right? I mean, again, we can think about this later on. A double, and it's going to be a cost. That's the cost. So a few instance variables. These are all the instance variables that are inbound. Now, do I need to have some kind of ways of kind of populating this information in there? Well, I think so. That makes sense that I would do that, right? So my public movie, am I going to take it? So again, I'm going to think in my head. In my constructor, do I want to load the instance variables with values through my constructor or through some kind of property, like a getter setter kind of property? Do I want to do that instead? Like set the value of my text and set the value of my category and set the value of my cost individually, or would it make more sense in this particular case just to do it through the constructor? My mind, it's the constructor because it makes more sense, right? So it means I'm going to have movie title or something like that comes in. So string, title, right? And then string is going to be category, and then boolean double, is going to be cost, right? So all these things are coming into the constructor, and then of course inside the constructor I want to assign them into the instance variable so that they hold the value, right? As an example. Okay. Ooh. But now I want those values to be exposed somehow, right? So I definitely want to be able to do a getter and setters, but I want them to be read-only. I want them to be set through the constructor and yet read-only when I get them, when I use my getter, right? So I need properties for these things, which means I'm going to do my public properties here, right? But my public properties are going to be done through the names of the item that I'm creating, right? So for example, it would be public and then the title, right? And then of course my property looks like this, right? Isn't this how it goes? Am I doing it wrong? How about set? You have to use the setter, some kind of, how does a public property work? You guys remember? Come on, help me out. Huh? For my title? Public string title. Oh, okay. That's good. And now I need to put some kind of setter because I can't set anything, so it's got to be just a getter. So I'm going to say get, right, for my get property because all I want it to be is a, you know, a single property. I could write the automatic one, right? Just by putting the return, it returns the title, right? That's all I have to do. But I wanted to use the this keyword because I'm really interested in using the this keyword to identify that this is the property, right? Would this be enough for the title, for the getter? This is a read-only property, right? So read-only, right? And I want to do the same thing for my category and costs. So let's just type that again and again. So, I'll change the names to protect the innocent in a second. Hold on. All right. So this is my instead of my title, this will be my category, and it'll return this dot underscore category, right? And this one will be, instead of a string, it'll be a double. That's good, and it won't be a title, it'll be a cost, right? Oh, there we go. And it'll return this dot underscore cost. So I need them to be read only when I want them, right? The properties, but I don't want them to be set any other time except when I'm creating them, when I'm creating the objects. Okay, cool. So I've done this piece, but I need to assign them. And of course, this is the place where I would assign, I'll say assign values to instance variables. And so really this is a container class more than anything else. And let us assign the string, the title, the category, and the cost to the instance variables. So of course it'd be this dot underscore title, right, is equal to title, right? And this dot underscore category is equal to category. This should all be review for you. This dot underscore cost is equal to cost, right? So now I've assigned these objects, so that the instance variable, the values for the instance variables to the instance variables themselves. So now I have a method of inputting into the class and getting stuff out of the class through my getter, right? Private properties, private instance variables, private properties, and private methods, or public methods. Do I have any methods that I would want to kind of put together, right? Yeah, I do. I want to override the string, the toString property, right, of my class. Why? Because then it can print out all three items. My value, right? If I want to, I can convert all of them into a big string. Okay. I don't know if I need that right now, right? Am I missing anything else? How about my properties, my class for this thing, should it also hold the picture, the image string? Maybe I can load that somehow too, right? We got to figure out how to do that. For now, let's leave it like this, and maybe I'll let you guys figure that out on the other end, right? But again, title, category, and cost, I've got my little object. Okay. Question for you. Now that I've got my object, right, or my class, I don't have any objects of this class yet, right? I want to instantiate all the objects as I load up my array, category, and so on, okay? So now, I need an enum. I could do an enum, right? Does anyone remember how to do an enum? As I thought, right? So let's go back to our, I'm going to kill this for a second. I'm going to go back to movieform.cs. I know that I'm going to be accessing my class in here, my new movie class. I'm going to kind of access to it here, right? I'm going to call upon it to create new objects of the class. And I also, at this level here, right, inside this partial class movie form, I want to instantiate some kind of movies array, right? That's the easiest kind of construct I can use. So I know that it's going to be of type string, and it's got to be probably, let's leave it public for now, all right, just to make it easy. So we're going to make it public. We're going to call this thing movies, lowercase, right? And of course, what type of object is it going to be? Well, it's going to be a type of movie, right? So an array of movies, right? That's going to be called, the actual array is going to be called movies, right? Make sense? And right now, I don't know, if I was to make it an array, I need to know the fixed length of the array. So for now, if I was to go back to look at my requirements, and I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I need 20 items, right? So I can certainly make this equal to, right away, is new array of movie, right? And I make it 20, right? New movie array of 20. So I've got my movie array, right? It's called movies. That's what it's called, right? That's my movies array. And I've created an array that can hold movie, the movie class, the objects of type movie, right? That's what they are. But I haven't instantiated any of these things. So how do I instantiate? Well, I probably want to do it when, you know what, when I initialize stuff. And if you notice, there is a movie form constructor right here. So when my movie form is created, I initialize my components. Well, I could certainly put that in there so I can initialize my array as well. Initialize movies, if you will, right? So I could create some other kind of I'll make it a private, it'll return void for now, and it'll be called initialize, just to keep in keeping with what this is, initialize movie. You know, movie array. How about that? Big long name. Initialize movie array. All right, cool. So that's what my new method is going to be called, that I'm going to call from inside my movie form, initialize movie array. There it is. Oops. Right? I'm going to call this once my components are initialized, then I'm going to initialize my movie array. Okay, how do I do that? Well, now this is where the hand bombing comes in, right? It's going to be hand bomb. I'm going to do 20 of these, right? I could. Just saying, this is the way that could do it, right? Yeah, you're shaking your head. Yeah, you're shaking your head. Let's do it the hard way. So then the hard way would be, I'm going to do one of these. There's no for loop necessary because I'm going to do everything in one line, okay? In 20 of these lines here. 20 lines. Here we go. So I'm going to say movies, right? Movie 0, I want you to see this, right? Is equal to new movie, right? And I'm going to pass into there what? It's going to be my title. So let's go back to my requirements. Season of the Witch. Season of the Witch, which is going to be this. Season of the Witch, right? My category, which is going to be sci-fi. Uh-oh. I'm getting some weird stuff going on, right? Because sci-fi, what if I type it wrong? A little nervous. And my cost is going to be for sci-fi movies is $2.99. So this definitely is the surefire, long way to do it. $2.99. Okay? What am I doing here? Let's look at this one line. I'm saying the first element of my movies array, I'm going to instantiate an anonymous movie that I'm going to give a value of Season of the Witch, sci-fi for my category, and $2.99 for the cost. Later on, I can go into movie 0 and say movie 0 dot title, movie 0 dot category, movie 0 dot cost. And I can get those things out of there, right? This is the reason in my mind why I'm thinking about this, yeah? So I'm setting up all this stuff ahead of time. This is great, but I'm going to have to do like 20 of these. And what if I make a mistake? So we'll stop recording here, take a short break, 5-10 minutes, and I want you to come back and think of better ways to do this than the way we're doing it right now.